Welcome back from the ad break, and let's continue with our lesson. So now we are going to be focusing on our first part or our first point, which is going to be rate, ratio, and proportion, but we are going to be looking at distance, speed, and time. So when we are looking at distance, speed, and time, we are going to use this diagram that you can see there that is going to help us with our formulas. So this triangle has a D on top, which represents distance. And then at the bottom next to each other, we have S for speed, and then we are multiplying that with T for time, right? Just remember that this line would be representing our division, okay? So if when we are looking at the formula for time, there's time over there, then our formula is going to be our distance divided by our speed, right? So can you see how that diagram works? The same case goes for when I'm looking for the formula for my speed. So there's my speed over there. And what is the formula going to be for my speed? That is going to be my distance divided by my time. Okay? And then the same thing is going to go for if I am looking for the formula for distance. And that is going to be, that's my distance, and that is going to be my speed multiplied by my time. So that diagram is going to help us to find these formulas easier. Let's look at the first part of our lesson. Now remember, a rate is a comparison of different quantities. And now we are going to be looking at rate, but in the context of speed, distance, and time. So a rate is a comparison of different quantities. For example, when we compare the number of laps completed in time. So the number of laps and time are two different quantities. So now we are going to be looking at distance. And remember, distance is the length between 2 points, from town A to town B, for example. And that would be distance represented in, for example, 225 kilometers. So a truck travels at a speed of 75 kilometers per hour for 3 hours. How much distance did the truck travel? So remember, distance is, remember we have that diagram to help us. So my distance is speed multiplied by time. So in our question, we've been given the speed and we've been given the time. So that simply means that I am going to say 75 multiplied by 3. And when you punch that into your calculator, you will see that 75 multiplied by 3 gives us an answer of 225. And we are going to use kilometers because we are working with distance. So let's look at the rate for this scenario. We are comparing distance with time, and we've just calculated the 225 kilometers for 3 hours. So that means that the rate here is 225 is to 3 hours. But remember, when we are representing our rate, it has to be in simplest form. So we are going to use our highest common factor so that we can get it in simplest form. And our highest common factor between these two numbers is 3. So when we divide by 3, we are going to have 75 is to 1 hour. So remember, you'd be dividing by 3 both sides. So that would be 225 divided by 3 and also 3 divided by 3. That will give us 75 is to 1 hour. What does this mean? It means our rate is 75 kilometers every hour, which is 75 kilometers per hour. Let's move on to the next one, which is time. So time is how long it takes for an event to occur. For example, 1.5 hours, or that is 1 hour, 30 minutes. An example is that a car travels for 90 minutes at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. How long did the car travel? So, sorry for that. Again, we are going to use our diagram to write down this formula. So remember that because we are calculating time, how long, then that means we are going to write down our formula as T. And look at where T is. That means our formula is going to be distance divided by speed. The distance has been given to us there. That is our 90 kilometers. And the speed has also been given to us there. That is our 60 kilometers per hour. And when you punch that into your calculator, you are going to get 1.5 hours. That is 1 hour and 30 minutes. When we look at the rate, again, we are comparing distance to time. That is 90 kilometers in 1.5 hours. But then when we simplify that rate, that is going to be 60 kilometers is to 1 hour. That is 60 kilometers every hour, or 60 kilometers per hour. Let's move on to speed. And then the speed is the distance moved over a certain amount of time. For example, we have 55 kilometers per hour. An example, a bicycle travels for 110 kilometers for 2 hours. At what speed is this bicycle traveling? Again, we are going to use our diagram. So speed is equals to distance divided by time. So when we continue with that, we've been given the distance, which is 110 kilometers, and we've been given the time, which is 2 hours. Our speed is going to be 55 kilometers per hour. And when we look at the rate of this is going to be, again, distance is to time. And that is 110 kilometers is to 2 hours. But when we simplify that rate using our highest common factor, that is going to be 55 kilometers is to 1 hour. That means our rate for this scenario is 55 kilometers per hour. So that is our distance, speed, and time. Remember, when we are working with rate, so now I have 55 kilometers is to 1 hour. That means if I move on to 2 hours, it is going to be 110 kilometers per 2 hours. What did I do to move from 1 hour to 2 hours? I multiplied by 2. I did not add 1 hour, I multiplied by 2. This means on the distance side, I'm going to multiply by 2 as well. And that will give me the 110 is to 2 hours. The same applies if I go to 3 hours, I'm just going to multiply by 3 hours. And the same applies if I go to 4 hours, I'm just going to multiply. So the key here is that we are multiplying. So if I have 55 kilometers is to 1 hour, if I'm going to have 2 hours, it doesn't mean I added 1, which means my kilometers are going to be 56 kilometers. No, we do not move with our ratios by adding. Instead, we move by multiplying. That is something that you should always remember. So for example, for 3 hours, it's not going to be that I added 2 here, therefore I must add 2 there as well. That is absolutely not correct. You need to multiply like we have done here on the left-hand side of our screen. I hope you keep that in mind when you are calculating your rate. Now, let's quickly go to an ad break and then we'll see you just now.